So for everyone joining here on YouTube, hello, my name is Talgehurst. I stream about twice weekly, sometimes 3 times a week on twitch.tv/Talgehurst, and we're going to be reading over the latest This Week at Bungie from Bungie regarding Destiny 2. Every Thursday, I'm going to try and do a live read of this on the Twitch channel, so you can chat with us as we go through it. And then you'll see the VOD uploaded here if you can't make it. For this week, they are diving into future armor changes for Season 15 and beyond. And let's dive in, shall we? So this week at Bungie, we take a pass on armor mods and exotics. As we get closer to launch, I can't help but feel that we should keep these introductions short and sweet, so with that in mind, we'll keep this to a bulleted list. Have you played Destiny 2 this week? Check out the epilogue. It's pretty sweet. Genuinely, it's fantastic if you haven't done it yet. If you play Destiny, log in, play the epilogue, enjoy that sweet, sweet story. If you don't play Destiny or aren't in a place where you can play Destiny and catch up, check out the VOD on Twitch, on my channel, twitch.tv/Talgehurst. It should be the most recent VOD, and the epilogue is covered in the first hour of it. It'd be nice if you watched the whole thing, but the story's in the first hour. We have less than 2 weeks until the Destiny 2 showcase. So August 24th, not only does Season 15 start, we get the showcase that is going to better unveil what's going to be coming in Witch Queen and what future plans they have for Destiny even beyond that. And earlier this week on Twitter, they revealed 5 of the upcoming champion mods that we will be using. Now we'll look over on the game screen here and go to the seasonal artifact. Every season we get a new artifact, and most of the champion mods are right here on the left side, with at least one high-powered one further on down the list. So judging by these 5 images that we have here from the Twitter post and on the TWAB, we have 4 of the starter mods and 1 of the late game mods. We're looking at a lot of Overload and Unstoppable champions. And if we're dealing with Taken in the Dreaming City like we think we are, that means Overload and Unstoppable mods are going to be hyper important. So your bows, your pulse rifles, and your fusion rifles are going to be vital. Dust those out of the vault, clean them off, get them powered up. That's going to be part of my goal this week and next week, is to get those pinnacle drops to put into, say, Graviton Lance, an exotic pulse rifle that makes things explode. Maybe upgrade Le Monarch, exotic bow that deals damage over time. And a couple pinnacles for at least 4, maybe 5 exotic fusion rifles. We're looking at Season of the Telesto, Merciless, Bastion. Hope you like fusion rifles. We're getting fusion rifles. And Bungie has hinted at several times in the Weapon TWAB next week, we're going to be looking at some significant buffs and changes to fusion rifles in particular. Get ready for those. And of course, you know, we've got the Unstoppable Sidearm, which we have this season, and you can see on my screen is not purchased. Sidearms are kind of silly. They're not bad. There are a couple that I like, but when I can, you know, take an SMG or an auto, I'm just going to take an SMG or an auto. And speaking of autos, we get our auto rifle anti-barrier again, which is just, it's become a staple at this point. It's too good. it's hard not to like it. So we're going to be looking at some fine-tuning here on the armor side of things. Each season gives exciting opportunity for pieces of the sandbox to move up or down. Activities encounters are one piece of that puzzle, providing fresh challenges for Guardians to take on with the plethora of tools in their toolbox. This week in particular, the Armor and Expressions team has some notes on how a few of your tools are changing. Some will be slightly more limited in dominating your enemies, but still perfectly viable options to take into battle. Some are going to get a bit hotter. So hello from your loyal blacksmiths working at our digital forge. Over the next few seasons, we're aiming to bring some exotic armor outliers back into line. Though this does mean that some overperforming favorites are going to get a little off the top, it also means that we get to inject some excitement into some less popular choices. First, we'll start with something that's been top of mind for many controller players since Destiny 2 was released, followed by details on our upcoming balance pass. So I run on PC, run on mouse and keyboard primarily, so this portion doesn't affect me specifically, but with crossplay coming at the end of the month, this change is going to be huge. Traction, a leg armor mod, grants tighter turn radius while sprinting. That's its current functionality. Costs no energy to apply, you strap it onto your leg armor, and the traction mod felt mandatory for PvP on controller, and unnecessary on mouse and keyboard. With mouse sensitivity being as high as it is, yeah, you really don't need traction mods. You're going to snap turn pretty easy, pretty efficiently. Can't do that so much on a controller. The input is wildly different. So this felt to be more appropriate as an accessibility option rather than a balance choice. Players, including us, have also felt that the maximum of 10 sensitivity wasn't enough on controller. So they're making some changes to bring controller input closer to parity with keyboard and mouse. With crossplay coming, that is kind of necessary. So the traction mod as a whole is going away. It's gone. On August 24th, it is removed. What they are doing is they're adding a sprint turn speed scaler option, allowed values 0.3 to 0.8. In particular, this is going to be going to controller players. We can bring up the controller menu because I could use one if I wanted to. And they've added additional controller sensitivity options, 1 through 10, just as before, but now it goes up to 11 and beyond, with 11 to 20 increases over that. Play around with your settings come next season, get yourself comfortable to the changes. It may better suit your playstyle at those higher sensitivities. Have fun and mix match. They've also added an aim down sights sensitivity modifier, just like mouse and keyboard has. And that'll have values from 0.5 to 1.5. It's just going to adjust your existing sensitivity options, very similar to these ones. For everybody, we're looking at super regenerating exotics. The big one that people are aware of are Warlock Armor Geomag Stabilizers. So we're going to open that one up. So you've got that on screen as an example. So the first set of changes coming in Season 15 have to do with exotics that refund super energy. As a group of exotics, they tend to outshine other exotic choices, especially in high difficulty endgame activities. In some cases, they can trivialize the content or make it feel like the only reasonable option to equip for your build. Most of our changes here aim to standardize how these exotics work and to place a cap on how much super uptime they can grant themselves. To offset these changes, some of the perks were reworked to be more generous with their refund minimums. And there's also a new member to this family. Geomags being the big one, this is the big pain point item, or big pain point exotic armor piece. And there's also a new member to bringing up a chat window, and I decided to bring up my voice. Geomag stabilizers are the big pain point into this discussion right now. In high-end PvP content in particular, we're looking at Iron Banner, Trials of Osiris. Geomag stabilizers combined with the Chaos Reach subclass for Warlocks. You are almost always having that super up and ready to go. Far beyond any other subclass. So right now, when you're at about 80% supercharge, sprinting will finish that other 20%. And damaging enemies with Chaos Reach extends its duration. So on the 24th, that sprinting to top it off, gone. Completely. It will still be good for Chaos Reach. It'll extend the duration of it by dealing damage. So it's going to feel very, very similar to Crown of Tempests. So arc ability kills increase the recharge rate of your arc abilities and extend the duration of Storm Trance, the other arc super. So now depending on which subclass of the arc warlock you want to be, you have an exotic that plays with your super and how long you can fire it. You've got choices now. Whereas currently, if you're running Arc, you're running Chaos Reach, you're probably running Geomags. Not a whole lot of choice there. Things like Shards of Galanor for Hunters. Or, say, Ursa Furiosa for Titans. They've capped the amount of super energy that you can regain once your super ends at about 50%. Really, for all of these super generating exotics, they've just capped it at 50% refunded. So Skull of Dire Ahamkara, Phoenix Protocol, Storm Dancer's Brace, etc. Most you can get back towards your super is 50%. Because those tend to have this feedback loop with using your super, you get super energy back. It's not a very healthy combination. So Ursa Furiosa, block damage with Sentinel Shield. Titan Super, you get super energy back, it'll cap at 50. Shards of Galanor, get super energy for Blade's Barrage, the super, hits and kills. The Storm Dancer's Brace, each enemy you defeat with Storm Trance increases the damage you deal with Storm Trance. They're adding a refund to it, but only, again, up to 50, based on the number of kills that you get with the super active. It's looking like my favorite, Nazaric Sin here, isn't getting touched by this, because its void damage kills increase all ability regen recharge rates, and only by a small amount. And I run, oftentimes, about 100 intellect anyway. It's not boosting my super quite that much. I'm not refunding that much energy on super kills. It's fast, don't get me wrong. It's very fast. But it's not immediately 50% of my super back as soon as I cast it. As soon as I deal damage with my super. So these are some much needed changes for the health of the game. A couple other exotics are also getting retuned here and reworks. So these are where we get to inject some life into some less popular choices. Now, when Stasis came out, we thought Bombardiers, the boots that they're highlighting here on the TWAB and that I've got up on this screen, were going to be a bit more popular. I certainly thought they were going to be. Because when you dodge as a hunter, which you should be doing often, it'll leave behind a bomb that detonates after a short delay, damaging enemies around it. With Stasis, your dodge can slow and disorient enemies. So it should be a good combo, right? Dodge, you've slowed someone down, they're near that bomb, they'll take damage. The damage, unfortunately, is underwhelming. Like, it's nice, but not enough to say pick it over something like Mask of Bacchus as a hunter. Do I dodge and drop a bomb, or do I dodge and blink out of existence, breaking every sort of aiming instead? Mask of Bacchus is a better choice, currently. So what they're doing is, on the Bombardiers, they're adding a secondary effect to the bomb depending on what subclass you're running. Blind for Arc, Burn for Solar, an additional slow for Stasis, and suppression for Void. Mind you, the suppression does not affect Guardians in their super. Still useful. Suppression is powerful, and I think underutilized by a lot of players. Underutilized by myself, certainly. But Warlock doesn't have a lot of access to suppression, so here I am. We might see this used more. I know I'm certainly going to play around with it. I like the concept of the Bombardiers. We'll see how much it actually gets used. We'll see if I ever play my Hunter again. We're also going to be looking at the Graviton Forfeit. This is not as unpopular of a helmet as I think Bungie sees it. Sure, again, compared to Mask of Bacchus, I don't see this one as much. So like Mask of Bacchus, Assassin's Cowl, those tend to be picked more often. But Graviton Forfeit, they're increasing the bonus invisibility duration. Very nice. Melee regeneration speed now increases based on the number of enemies near you. Also useful. I can see that in PvE being very useful. And while you're invisible, your recovery is greatly increased, and your weapons reload more quickly. So I could see this being a standard pick in a lot of high-end PvE content. Things like Grandmasters or Raids. If you just need an oh shit button, pop your invisibility and hide with Graviton Forfeit. You'll reload faster, your health is going to regen faster, your melee is going to regen faster. If you can keep that invisibility up, you might have some better survivability with this. I unfortunately don't think I own one of these right now, so I'm going to have to wait until Xur comes around to sell it again, and I get a better copy than what I can pull from the vault here. And then for hunters, the other one that they're highlighting are the Lucky Pants. A classic exotic for hunters. So right now, precision hits load one round to the chamber of stowed hand cannons, and hand cannons ready faster and are more accurate immediately after swapping to them. These are quick draw pants. Like, these are the gunslinger fantasy pants. They're changing how the armor perk works almost entirely. So they're adding instead an intrinsic hand cannon holster mod and replacing the text that you see on the screen here with new functions. When you ready a fully loaded hand cannon that deals kinetic damage or damage matching your subclass energy type, for a short time, each hit against a combatant from that hand cannon increases the damage of the next shot. Hawkmoon, unfortunately, is going to be excluded from this because it already has a damage scaling ability built into that exotic hand cannon. They're not going to double it. That would be absurd. It'd be cool. I like that, exotic armor boosting an exotic weapon idea. But Hawkmoon's already super powerful. I could see that becoming too powerful with these Lucky Pants. So it's probably a safe choice. Now, two special things to note here, with the Lucky Pants in particular. They mention a hand cannon holster mod. And damage matching your subclass energy type. We're going to be seeing some very interesting things here going forward. And matching your energy weapon to your subclass is going to be a much more necessary thing for build crafting, and is something that Bungie is very clearly focusing on. We started to notice that with Season of the Chosen and some mods that came out at that time and has been expanded on, that no one's really using because of Warmind cells. We're going to get into more detail on both of those because they're tied to mods specifically. But there's a very clear shift in how they're designing mods and how they want us to play our characters. A couple quick changes to Titan exotics here. Now it's interesting to note that the two changes that they highlight to Titan armor are specifically for two of the three newest pieces of armor for Titans. So Precious Scars will now also create a burst of healing and bonus recovery around you whenever you kill an enemy with a weapon whose damage type matches your subclass. We're going to start seeing that a lot more here in the future. Like, we look at, the NPCs in the game. Zavala is very much either an Arc or a Void Titan. Ikora only uses Void stuff. They want your character's identity to match the subclass. Like, if you're an Arc main, you're running a lot of Arc equipment as well, is kind of their goal that I'm seeing through all of this. I myself run primarily Void as a subclass. So you see me using a lot of Void weapons and Nazaric Sin. I'm sacrificing my ability to deal solar and arc and stasis damage for making sure that my Void damage is top of the charts. And Bungie's starting to lean into that more and more here. Now this is going to be a needed buff for Precious Scars, because right now it only triggers after reviving or being revived. And it's real hard. It's a real hard sell to have your ability only activate on player failure. Like, you can do some fun things with that, but I have to rely on myself or my team failing to get the advantage when I could say take, One-Eyed Mask or Insurmountable Skullfort. being able to trigger that revive or that burst of healing and bonus recovery by succeeding and still keeping the failure protection, not bad. I don't know how often we'll see it compared to some of the other picks, but it's now an interesting choice as opposed to a choice you could make. And they're also making a couple changes to the Fall Mantle, which we picked up on stream just a couple weeks ago. Played around with it, and I didn't like it. This one replaces your barricade with a personal overshield, slows you down, you can't really jump with it. You're just this... You turn yourself into a boulder, and you're about as fast as a boulder. What it also did is it stopped your class ability from regenerating while it was active. Which, compared to every other time that you use your class ability, it regenerates immediately. So with Fall Mantle, they are removing that slower class ability recharge scaler. It's a nice change. That is certainly a happy change. Having said that, that's not going to stop Fall Mantle from being a bit of a troll pick. Like, I don't think I'm going to run Fall Mantle again for solo play. If I'm playing around with some friends in Crucible or Gambit and we're just kind of being ridiculous with each other, oh yeah, I'll put on Fall Mantle. I'll goof around. It's going to be definitely a for fun choice. I just get to use it more often now? Cool. We'll have to play around with it, but this is going to be your fun pick. This is your potentially, actual useful pick for Titans. Now we get to the fun ones. These ones I'm excited for. Warlocks. Verity's Brow. Not a bad pick to start with. Get energy weapon kills, grant death throws, which provides a bonus to the damage of your grenades, and grants grenade energy. When you have death throws, you throw a grenade. Nearby allies gain greatly increased grenade regeneration. Awesome. This is a decent build-specific exotic already. They've changed the energy weapon kills to grant death throws. Instead, it's going to be weapon kills that match your subclass energy type. They want you to pick an identity. Are you a Void Warlock? Cool. You're using Void weapons. Are you an Arc? Say Hunter. Cool, you're using Arc weapons. You're not required to do that, but it's going to be very build specific. You are creating a character at this point. You're creating an identity for your Guardian. Sure, you can change it on a whim, but you're also changing your gear. Like, if you're going to put together a build, you're putting together a build. They're aiming for more interaction with the armor system and weapon system, as opposed to, honestly, what I've been doing of kind of putting together a one-size-fits-all armor build and swapping weapons as I see fit. Now, if you want to change your loadout, you're playing with the whole build system. We'll see if that's going to be better for the game overall. I think it will be. I like that, playing with numbers and playing with options and playing with builds. I recognize that I'm also not in the majority for that. So we'll see how this plays out. The other big change that we're going to be looking at here is to the Stag. And I'm actually going to bring up my copy of the Stag, because I am taking this into PvP next season for sure. Currently, grants Rift Energy, my class ability, when I'm critically wounded. You've seen me play PvP, you've seen me in the Crucible, I get critically wounded a lot. So I'm going to have my Rift pretty consistently. And on my death, creates a healing rift on my corpse. Not bad. Again, the primary use for it requires you to die. I do that a lot in PvP. But hey, they're adding new functionality here. It's going to grant damage reduction to allied guardians standing in your rift. 25% against NPCs, against combatants, and 15% against players. Warlocks. You got a new helmet to try on for Trials of Osiris. You combine this with Stasis. Combine that damage resistance with, say, bring up Stasis here. The Whisper of Chains here. While you're near frozen targets or a friendly stasis crystal, you take reduced damage from targets. So drop down a glacier grenade, or have one of your allies do it. Drop down a rift. You're going to have damage resistance for days. That's going to be a powerful, powerful combo. Be prepared for that and high-end Crucible content. I wouldn't be surprised to see those numbers get nerfed at some point in the future. It's going to be good. We're going to rival some Titans, I think, when it comes to damage resistance. I'm going to use it. You kidding? I've got a 68 stat copy of the helmet with 20 of that in resilience. Oh yeah, this is going on a stasis build for sure. High resilience, high strength. I get to throw my my freeze melee more often. Yes, please. I'm gonna abuse this thing. I'll be real. And I will use it knowing full well it's going to get nerfed at some point. It's going to be strong. Be happy with it while you can. And the last one that they're highlighting for Warlocks are the Prometheum Spurs, which I've used a handful of times. They're interesting. I think I've just not used them primarily because I don't like their visual. But right now, while Daybreak is active, defeating combatants or guardians creates a healing and empowering rift at their location. So you use your solar super, you're throwing those like fiery sword slashes at enemies, kill something, creates a healing rift and an empowering rift at the impact zone. They're going to add to it now. While standing in a rift, solar weapon kills give you class ability energy. So stand in a rift, get solar kills, get rift energy back. And when your class ability energy is full, solar weapon kills consume that energy and spawn a combination of healing and empowering rift at the target locations. So now I don't have to use my super to get the effect of these boots. What I instead need to do is use a solar weapon with my solar subclass to get the effect. So for folks who are putting together, say, Grandmaster Nightfall teams, you might want to make sure that you're not doubling up on subclasses, on element types. Right now, just from what I have read, because I've not ventured into Grandmaster Nightfalls yet myself, you're looking at a lot of Void and Stasis being used. Void Titans, Stasis Warlocks in particular, and not a lot of variety beyond that. But then your weapons are changing around to deal with the different shields. Bungie's pushing towards your energy weapons matching your subclass. So a bit like I do normally with a Void energy weapon and my Void subclass. So these changes aren't going to affect me quite as much. But it's not unheard of to see someone, say, run Void subclass, solar energy weapon, and an arc heavy weapon. That way they can, as a single person, deal with the 3 different shield types. You might need to rely on your teammates a bit more now going forward. This is going to make soloing content a lot harder. Having said that, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because this is, first and foremost, an MMO. There is some content you need to find a group for. Like, I'm not going to go in and solo a raid. Like, you've seen me try and solo a dungeon before. It's easier said than done. So now they're kind of reinforcing that. You guys put together a fire team, make friendships. It's what they've wanted to do for a while. It's kind of been their goal for a while, is that building communities, building friendships, etc. This is just reinforcing that. Now, they do say keep your eyes open for other changes to come in the wake of these changes. Our goal for the next few seasons, especially following the launch of the Witch Queen, is to increase the variety of fun and powerful choices available to players in PvE and PvP alike. These exotic tweaks and changes are just the first of many that I would expect. And I would expect some of these to change, again, come Witch Queen. So I might only get 6 months of the Stag being a stellar helmet choice. But hey, I'll always have Nazarix to fall back on. Finders, Scavengers, and Holsters. Oh my. Now we get into the mod side of things. So right now, they're also going to be rolling out some changes to mods that affect the ammo economy. This is a big deal. Ammo economy is interesting in Destiny right now, to say the least. Running double ammo scavenger mods makes it too easy to have 100% uptime with special weapons in both PvP and PvE. In PvP specifically, we believe this is an important factor in how oppressive certain special weapons feel. Again, looking at you, shotguns. Reducing their effectiveness is a step towards addressing this, and they're prepared to revisit it depending on how it plays when it's out in the wild. They're also looking to improve Ammo Finder to make it a bit easier to earn special and heavy ammo in PvE, while introducing a new type of leg armor mod that reloads stowed weapons. So the big one are the ammo scavenger mods here. So we're looking at, again, we'll use shotguns as a punching bag because they are too much right now. You can have currently 2 shotgun scavenger mods on your leg armor at a time, and they currently stack. So say in PvP, if you don't run these, you run over a green ammo block, you get 1 shotgun shell back. Stick on a shotgun scavenger, you're getting, I believe it's 3 ammo back. Have 2 shotgun scavengers, you're looking at 6. Or like 5 to 6 shotgun shots back for a single ammo brick. Now, Shotgun Scavenger and all other scavenger mods of the same type no longer stack. So you only need to put on 1 of these to get the additional ammo back. That's the only nerf that they're making to those. We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. Especially with the changes that they're making to Ammo Finder. So Ammo Finder mods right now increases your chance of finding primary ammo, or say any ammo, depending on what type of weapon you're using, on kills. Useful, but it's hard to predict when it's going to trigger. So now they're going to make it a little more reliable. Now have an increased chance to spawn ammo kills on kills with primary weapons. So looking at auto rifle, hand cannon, etc. And further increased chance with exotic primaries. So shotgun ammo finder, grenade launcher ammo finder, rocket launcher ammo finder. Not getting affected too much unless you are getting kills with your primary. And for those of you who don't know, it's the white ammo type. So we've got our primary, special, and heavy. So if you're using anything that uses a white ammo brick, the primary ammo, that is going to have a more efficient time to trigger the ammo finder. Nerf to scavenger mods, buff to ammo finder. I think we're going to see a net, just a very neutral change in the PvE sandbox. So a lot of the stuff that you see me play, I don't expect us to feel that much of a change, if any. PvP, however, we're going to feel this change a lot more. And I think that's a change in the right direction. What they're adding, though, is to leg armor, is the holster mod type. So this will gradually reload stowed weapons of the matching type over time. Multiple copies of the holster mod of the same type will increase the rate ammo is reloaded. So we look at, say, Shayura's Wrath, got 27 rounds in a magazine. If I've got the SMG holster mod on, it's going to slowly refill ammo on that weapon up to that 27, so long as it's stowed. If I've got 2 of those mods on, it's going to increase it much faster. Every weapon type except for Ariana's Vow, an exotic hand cannon that uses the green special ammo type, rocket launchers, breech-loaded grenade launchers, and bows, because they've got a magazine size of 1, are not going to have holster mods. I have a feeling the auto-loading holster perk might be going the way of the dodo. Right now, auto-loading holster is incredibly useful on grenade launchers, shotguns, sniper rifles, rocket launchers. I have a feeling that's going away, at least on all future weapons. If you currently have it, great. Still incredibly useful. I don't imagine it's going to be here for any new weapons. Not necessarily a bad thing, because I think I would I'm okay with, sacrificing auto-loading for a weaker version, but that applies to more weapons and opens up a perk slot for more options. It will also help alleviate some of the pain that we run into with shotguns, because a lot of shotguns do drop with auto-loading holster. These holster mods and what they do, especially if auto-loading goes away, are a specific, very specific nerf to shotguns and breech-loaded grenade launchers, which are currently ravaging the Crucible. Not a bad change. I'm okay with it. It's a nerf. It's going to slow things down a bit. But I think Destiny kind of needs that for the health of the game. These are not easy changes to make, I'm sure. Not easy choices to make. But might be necessary for its longevity. And here's where we get to the mod changes that we all saw coming. Changes to some of these combat style mods. Warmind cells in particular. Now I'm going to preface this with this last season and even most of this current season and even most of last season. I've been running almost exclusively a Warmind cell armor build. We can take a look at my character. Warmind's Decree. Generate Warmind cells on void explosions. Hammer of the Warmind. Use Warmind cells to get, or to stun, overload, and unstoppable champions. If I'm not running Radiant Light, I'm probably running Global Reach. Increase the distance that Warmind cells affect enemies. The Warmind cells, if you haven't seen them, are those orange orbs that spawn in the world. Just about everyone who plays currently has run or currently runs a Warmind cell build. It's incredibly useful, incredibly powerful. Yes, it limits your weapon options to 7th Seraph weapons or Ikelos weapons. Or you use something like Warmind's Decree or Wrath of Rasputin. Not Wrath of Rasputin, what is it? Yeah, Wrath of Rasputin. Where solar or void explosions generate Warmind cells. But again, as the TWAB says, are too powerful. Even at their introduction, Bungie knew that they were very strong. And that was kind of the point. These mods were designed with weapon sunsetting being a thing that Bungie was doing. In spring, I shouldn't have been using 7th Seraph Carbine. That was supposed to be sunset in March. And with a weapon being sunset, that means those mods kind of go with it. Because those mods needed that weapon to function. So Bungie, created the Warmind cell mods to be stupid powerful. Because they were only supposed to last for about a year. Sunsetting is no longer a thing, which means those weapons are always an option, which means those mods are always an option. And because of their high power right now, they're kind of the only option. You kind of have to run one. There's only one encounter that I can think of where you shouldn't run a Warmind cell build. And even then, that shouldn't is a just don't shoot the Warmind cell. We're looking at the final encounter for Garden of Salvation as a raid. Yeah, when you're in the boss fight, don't shoot the Warmind cells as much as you might be tempted to. You can kind of throw off the team's rhythm in taking down the boss. But Warmind cells are still useful for other things. So Bungie is taking the Nerf bat to him. And honestly, much needed. I saw this coming. When sunsetting went away, a lot of folks in the Destiny community saw this coming. Because Warmind cells are the choice for combat changing mods. So the base Warmind cell, that orange orb, they've reduced the radius of the explosion from 10 meters to 6 meters, and reduced the damage of the explosion from the 200 to 400 range now to 50 to 250 range. The global reach mod that I showed off, the one that increases the range of Warmind cells, goes from 1 energy to 3, and that radius increase cut in half from 20 to 10 meters. The cellular suppression mod, reduce the duration of that suppression effect from 3 to 2 seconds. And Wrath of Rasputin, reduce bonus solar damage from 100, 200 to 25 to 100. We're looking at a roughly 50% nerf across the board to all of the damage and range of Warmind cell builds and mods. Kind of a big deal. Because again, everyone is running Warmind cell builds. They're that good. Having said that, this doesn't mean the death of Warmind cells. It's real easy to just give into, oh, hard nerf, never using these again. Warmind cells are still going to be very, very useful. Sheltering energy. Take a look at that mod more. Collecting a Warmind cell, just generating one, grants you an overshield. Still useful. Sure, you're not dealing damage necessarily with the Warmind cell, but now you're armoring yourself. You know, collecting a Warmind cell creates a burst of chaining arc energy around you through modular lightning. Still pretty useful. What we're really going to be looking at, cellular suppression. Still good. 2 seconds versus 3 seconds. Not that big of a change. A debuff is still nice. But what you should be looking at is Warmind's longevity instead of global reach. Since you're not necessarily going to be using Warmind cells for damage anymore, use them for debuffs and buffs to your encounters. Make those Warmind cells last longer, so it can provide bonus weapon damage to enemies that are near the Warmind cell. Or say, take reduced damage from enemies that are near a Warmind cell. So shift your focus on how those Warmind cells work away from damage, and instead as a means to apply buffs and debuffs to yourself and enemies respectively. Grasp of the Warmind might become more useful as well, because you can then reposition those Warmind cells. Things to keep in mind. This is a nerf to their damage, but not their utility. Use that utility. Use your weapons to deal the damage instead. Which gets us into the new mods that they introduced in the spring here. These elemental wells. Now in Season of the Chosen, we dabbled with these a little bit. You know, the elemental wells work when you use an energy weapon that matches your subclass. It's a recurring theme that we're seeing here. And it started with these elemental wells that you can pick up from the helm in the tower. So they're making a couple more changes to these to make them more desirable, more viable. Because I think I dabbled with these for about 2 weeks and immediately went back to my Warmind cells. Now they're making elemental armaments, which currently, any weapon kills that you get with a damage type that matches your subclass, they have an escalating chance to spawn an elemental well. Useful. They're changing it a little bit come next season to where it has an increased chance to spawn an elemental well based on the tier of enemy defeated. Take down a yellow or an orange health bar enemy, more likely to spawn an elemental well. This is going to help out the Font of Might elemental well mod as well. So once you pick up that well, and it matches your subclass energy type, it'll grant a bonus to weapon damage for that same elemental weapon type. They're giving this mod a hard buff, a big buff here. Boost the uptime of Font of Might to 10 seconds. And that damage bonus goes from 10% to 25%. I think a lot of players the last 6 months here have slept on these elemental well mods. I would not be surprised if some of you just flat out didn't purchase these from the war table or the splicer within the helm. If you've not done so already, go to the helm every week. So every Tuesday, go to the helm, go to the war table, go to the servitor, buy these mods. Play around with these mods. With how much Bungie is currently leaning into, making your weapon match your subclass, lean in just as hard. Get that 25% damage bonus. Like, you watched Shayura's Wrath melt people in PvP on Tuesday. Get that 25% damage bonus. Make it melt things even faster. It's hard to say no to that. Yeah, I'm going to miss out on the explosions everywhere. So I won't use Shayura's Wrath then. I'll use, Telesto to get void explosions. I'll use Graviton Lance, probably more likely, for void explosions. Sure, it's not Warmind cells, but 25% bonus damage? Yes, please. Absolutely, yes, please. So those are big changes to the armor mods. Don't sleep on elemental wells anymore. Yeah, I know I did, and I think what I'm going to do next week, as we gear up here, and maybe even a little bit today, is play around with a couple options of what we can do with elemental wells. What things we can play with, and what builds we can put together with that. Now, armor and abilities taken care of. Next week's TWAB is going to be looking at weapons. The big thing that we know coming for weapons is fusion rifles and linear fusion rifles are getting a massive rework. So I'm excited to see what those are going to do. And we're going to be getting stasis weapons. So we get to add to Void, Solar, and Arc stasis as a weapon type, to coincide with the using a weapon that matches your subclass. I don't know if Bungie has said that enough in this TWAB, and I don't know if I've said it enough. Start looking at using a weapon that matches your subclass. You are going to be rewarded for that. As a little preview here, because the new season starts up just a week before a new month, we're going to see the Iron Banner come back at the start of September. So they're going to preview ahead of time some of the rewards that you can get for Iron Banner. Some new weapons here. The Forge's Pledge Pulse Rifle and the Peace Bond Sidearm. What's fascinating and I love about these two weapons, not that, you know, two new weapons, always good, but these are two new weapons that are simultaneously designed and made in universe by human and Elixni weaponsmiths. They get to join the ranks of the Wristwalker and Archon's Fury weapons, which are supposed to be, you know, weapons that Saladin granted an Elixni to make. Yeah, here's a short tease of the lore page here. No, I will not allow a fallen to fight in the banner. That right is reserved for guardians alone. But if you insist, I may allow a guardian to carry a fallen forged weapon into battle. You are a weaponsmith, are you not? And that weaponsmith made Wristwalker and made the Archon's Thunder. Elixni crafted weapons for guardians to use. We're getting two more, a pulse rifle and a sidearm. That's exciting. And that's exciting collaboration between humanity and Elixni that we get to see beyond Season of the Splicer. A proper alliance between these two former enemy cultures. And that's not all. Iron Banner is getting a new armor set here that looks, in my opinion, absolutely amazing. Let me blow this up a little bit for you to get a better look at it. Getting some deep sea themed Iron Banner armor. And I'll be willing to throw myself into Iron Banner just to collect these armor sets for all three of my characters. It's gonna be a rough time, but I will suffer for my aesthetic. We're getting that armor. And neutrality official, I do see the hydrate and the posture check there. I'm sure you put those in a while back. They didn't pop up on my chat feed, unfortunately. But I will redeem those. Thank you. The other fun thing about this new armor set that's coming, starting next season, we will be introducing the Iron Lord's Pride intrinsic perk through this set. Wearing a piece of this armor grants a small chance of an enhancement prism dropping at the end of an Iron Banner match. Each additional piece worn increases that chance, capping out at 4 pieces total. You know, why 4 pieces, not 5? Well, because I still want to wear an exotic, I'm sure. So 4 pieces. So it's cool that there's going to be an Iron Banner armor set that has an additional effect in Iron Banner specifically. But you know what's more important than that? Bungie's bringing back set bonuses. This is a set bonus for your armor. I can't think of the last time Bungie has had set bonuses for their armor like so many other MMOs do. That makes collecting armor so much more important than just for transmog. Because right now, for each character, you only need 2, maybe 3 sets. At most, 3 sets of armor. You know, 1 for each energy type. Looking at Solar, Arc, and Void. Like my bonds right here. I only have 3 because I only need 3. I have more of the other types because they've got different stat distributions. But beyond that, again, I'm only gonna need, 2 or 3 armor sets for the kind of build that I'm looking for. If they start introducing more intrinsic perks through that set, or through a set, that hunt for different armor just became more important, just became more valuable. And that I'm looking forward to. This is nice to get an enhancement prism for Iron Banner. But what is the raid set going to look like? What are the vendor armor sets in Witch Queen going to look like? Because we've got a lot of different armor sets. Crucible, Gambit, and Nightfalls have their own unique armor set. And right now, the only difference between them is cosmetic. What if these vendor armors do something now? So we'll be getting a new version of these, a refresh of these, when Witch Queen drops. I'm going to predict right here that next version, whatever arrives in Witch Queen, is going to have an intrinsic perk through the set, just like this Iron Lord set. If I'm wrong, I will be very, very surprised. But I got a gut feeling we're going to start seeing armor set bonuses. They're not going to confirm it outright, but they're sneaking that in there. And who knows, they might talk about it on the 24th with the showcase. But that's the TWAB. That's the This Week at Bungie. That's the preview for what we're going to see at minimum next season. And then next week we get to look at weapons. See what things they're changing there. So for everyone who is not watching this live, thank you very much for coming by the channel and taking a look at things. Remember, I'm going to try and do these TWAB readings every Thursday when I stream on twitch.tv/Talgehurst. You can find other TWAB readings and analysis and hopefully more content here on youtube.com/Talgehurst. And just like on Twitch, if you like the content, do subscribe so you can get notifications on when I go live next or when new content drops. And I appreciate every single one of you who at least just puts eyeballs on the screen. Makes a world of difference. So thank you very much for watching there.